Oh, and you know the thing about chaos? It's fair.
What? Yo, see, there's a motto here. Your job is just to piss them off, get them talking, arguing, and getting all their friends involved. Y'all can take it how you want it, getting gay and mad. It's all about ideas, and the good always outweigh the bad. Raise the flag, homie, take some fucking pride in that. We hate this fucking government, and ain't nobody hide that fact. This a symbol of the freedom that they taking from you. Patriots accustomed to the darkness they've been fading unto. From Lima to Cleveland, back to Toledo. These jokers, Heath Ledgers, you faggots is Jared Leto. Me amigos, all Devos. Shoulders got Doritos, hot Cheetos, Fritos, and those big ass bags of Tostitos. It's a party, y'all. Don't mind a little argument. We're all adults, it ain't no reputation tarnishing. Hypnotizing bitches like the slow jam bad. It's safety for no man, it's snowman's land. We ain't dealing with your bullshit. Operator, hop out in a full kit. Got them things that go bang, ain't never out of range. Y'all should probably let me do my thing. Hot dang, yeah, we ain't really dealing with your bullshit. Operator, hop out in a full kit. Got them things that go bang, ain't never out of range. Y'all should probably let me do my thing. Hot dang.
Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos.
What's up, everybody? Can you hear me all right? Audio good? Everything sound all right? Coming in crystal clear, hopefully. If not, it is what it is. But here we are, day 6 on these LA riots, or the LA insurrection, or whatever you want to call it. It's crazy what's going on, but the one that I ended up stumbling across today is this guy. He's covering it. His title is Los Angeles Anti-ICE Bloods and Crips versus the Mexicans. And apparently I've seen a few videos today too where the Bloods and the Crips ain't having this shit out there. They're standing on business, standing 10 toes down, and they're not having this nonsense that we've been seeing. They ain't supporting it. They ain't backing it up. But we'll go ahead and add this clip, this live feed to the stage. This guy's Red Supreme TV 1. If you haven't subscribed to him, make sure you do. And the link's out there if you want to hop up and, give your 2 cents. Yeah, it is complete chaos out there right now. It's insane, man. This guy that we're watching right now, he was saying earlier that just 20 years ago, Compton itself was like 60 to 70% Black Americans. Now, 20 years later, it's 60, 70% all Mexicans. Like, Mexicans have completely taken over the demographic out there.
Vija Mexico, Vija Mexico, Vija Mexico.
Me personally, I don't understand how anybody, that is quite an alliance. Personally, I don't understand how anybody can support anybody that's waving a foreign flag in this nation and claiming to want to have American status or citizenship in this country. I mean, that right there is, from everything I've ever learned in history, is a telltale sign of an invasion.
Mm-hmm. Put your monkey ass in jail. Yeah.
What's up, Bumpkin?
Shout out to Ryder Profit for the Cash App. Shout out to Desmond for the Cash App. Shout out to Allen for the Cash App. Man, you already know.
What's good, Bumpkin? You there? Well, you'll speak when you get a chance to. You know what? Triple P, the left is completely imploding right now. It's literally imploding on itself. It's crazy. What's up, Sam? Yo.
Yo, what's up, Chief?
No, figured I'd go live today and show some of this shit that's going on.
Hell yeah.
It seems like they're actually rounding more people up and deporting them now.
I know, dude, it's crazy. New America. Yeah, you literally just started streaming as soon as I was trying to get some sleep. I haven't been able to sleep at all. But yeah, man, how bad of a population group do you have to be for the Bloods, Crips, and the cops to get after your ass? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man, if you think about it. That's a hell of an alliance to have the Bloods and Crips.
All that marching and protesting amounts to nothing. And you gonna raise hell and yell all downtown Los Angeles and think there won't be no motherfucking consequences.
I like this guy.
Now it's time to pay the piper.
The blacks just aren't having this shit, are they?
They are not, dude. They're not having it at all, man. And what's funny is the Mexicans seem to be mad because they thought for sure that the blacks would stand with them in solidarity and shit.
At least they made some arrests, right?
And they're like, nah, get the hell out of here.
Nah, man, we ain't like you. You ain't like us.
How's it go? They not like us?
Yeah, they not like us.
Rioters still attacked police for 6 straight nights, so there were clashes there. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. The feud between President Trump and California's Governor Gavin Newsom is on full blast. Newsom just doesn't get the message.
Now, my question is Trump trying to start a war in America,
protecting
though?
all these businesses, but we know
I think he's trying to bring structure back. I think he's trying to actually wield that power that the executive is supposed to wield, and just certain governors aren't trying to have it. But
could you go into more detail on what that power is that the executive is supposed to wield?
Yeah, they're allowed to pretty much control immigration. They're allowed to control the United States military. So if they feel like the immigration that's coming in is a direct threat to the nation, they have the right to deport them. Like, that is a constitutional right.
Now, someone would say that the president doesn't have the right to let loose the military on American soil against American citizens, but I guess the argument would be is technically he's not loosing them on American citizens. He's letting them loose on illegal immigrants, right?
Right. And if that was the case, then why are we only having a problem with it now? Because there's been several presidents throughout history that has done that exact thing. So
yeah, was it no, it was Clinton. No, it was Bush that did it in the 90s, wasn't it? The first Bush?
Yeah, Bush did it in the 90s. Nixon did it with the hippies.
Right, yeah. My stepdad or my father-in-law told me he had to guard Washington, D.C. with a fire hose against the hippies when he was in the army.
Yeah. Hell, George Washington stomped out the Whiskey Rebellion. Like, that was American citizens.
Sam, what the hell you been doing? Jerking off? Nah, man. I got a wife that takes care of that for me. I ain't got to do that shit. I just been busy, man. You know how it is. Or you may not, man. It depends on if you got a wife and kids, man. You got a wife and kids, shit kind of life gets ahead of you sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I don't have a wife or kids. And if I have kids, they haven't let me know yet. So.
Right. Let's see what Trump has to say.
We didn't have the police to handle it. The police were asking us to come in. They were very late. While we were there, we stayed there, and we stopped tremendous destruction and death. We stopped the deaths. We stopped a lot. We are going to have law and order in our country.
Okay, this started as a press against immigration, customs, and enforcement agents.
Well, that shouldn't be anything uncommon. I mean, Trump has always been, quote unquote, the law and order president, has he not?
So that's
He
how the
has been, yeah.
anti-ICE portion of this chaos
I mean, isn't that pretty much what he's
into things that are violent.
Oh, he said that comment was directed towards Bumpkin.
Beyond Southern California.
But I guess it can apply to you too. Hey, fuck you, Sam. Respectfully, fuck you.
So clearly,
Ooh, that's
it's
bear
not just
mace.
ICE agents they hate. They hate the police. They must hate American citizens because they.
Oh, I don't jerk off in the shower, sir.
And we know that they don't care if they keep people from going to
What's
their
up,
jobs
Character
during the
Matters?
daytime by blocking them. These
I have a
people
big
are
open window that I
dangerous.
just look
And
out and I just jerk
they're
off
super attention,
out into.
apparently. In cities large and small across the country, police faced an anti-ICE
Like a
protest
fucking
that
serial
was peaceful
killer.
and violent.
Right.
The mayor of Spokane, Washington, was forced to declare a state of emergency.
This is
because
crazy
of it.
that this is
And
even.
police
There's people that
arrested
are
some
actually
30 people
defending
there.
this shit
Already across the country.
in this
Damn,
country.
Spokane, Washington, of all
Since the Los
places?
Angeles riots began,
Well, you know
No.
they got that
today,
that
so
No
the
King
second
rally
day
that's
the
supposed to
internet
happen here
nationwide
in
unrest
2 days,
has exploded in
all
that
across
time.
the
The White
country.
House says this
Oh,
will not
please
stop
be one in North
presidents
Dakota.
from
Please be
working to
one in North
protect
Dakota.
Americans.
I haven't looked yet, but I'd be willing to bet there's probably a couple of them in
Make sure
Indiana,
you guys
probably
get
one
those
right here in the
likes up.
city that
If
I
you
live
haven't
in.
already, let's get
I have a
some people
GoPro.
present.
I will show
I
up.
will drop the link sooner than you think. Let's get back.
Imagine that IRL stream. That made me a lot of money. A lot of mullahs.
Copycatting the violence in an effort to stop this administration's mass deportation efforts. You will not succeed. Any lawlessness will only strengthen this president's resolve to defend the majority of Americans who want to live their lives peacefully.
Isn't she like 60 years old?
Free from the fear of
Dude,
violent,
she's
criminal, illegal
definitely
Senior
not
White
in her
House
20s or
correspondent Jim
30s. That's
Newsy
for
is in
damn
the
sure.
East Room, where he
I don't know
will,
if she's in her 60s, but
hear from the president.
I know she's
We had to pop out
looks
to the
good
north
for her
side. They
age.
said we couldn't do any live shots before the president got there. So
What's up, Squatch?
Here we are, and
So it's not a window. You're on the north lawn. Good to know.
It's all,
Thank
it's all
you.
a green screen.
I
Yeah,
know.
but now that the driver in California who allegedly dropped off those so-called bionic masks to rioters to use during a riot has been arrested, there are folks here at the top of the chain of command of government who want to know if there are shadowy anti-government folks bankrolling violence.
They're probably paid, many of them, as you know, they're professionals. When you
Yeah, the person's called George Soros.
They're chopping up concrete and they're using that as a weapon. That's pretty bad.
Taking a cue.
Well,
from
there's
our
been
boss, the
reports
Director of
again too
National
this time
Intelligence,
around,
is
just like in
already
2020,
reviewing
that
open
there
source
were ads
intel.
on Craigslist paying people to come out and protest.
Yeah, dude, like $6,000 a week.
Offering people thousands of dollars a week to go out and conduct these violent and dangerous riots in the streets of not only Los Angeles.
Is that what's her name? Tulsi Gabbard. I think
Now
that's her
she's
name.
sexy.
Yeah, let's continue on with the show. Trying to make it seem like this
Yeah,
is
I would,
peaceful protest.
yeah.
We got Mexicans tearing up shit.
But we saw earlier in
Put her in an
Chicago
American
and New
flag
York and
bikini, you know what I'm
other
saying?
cities across the country.
Yeah.
And ultimately, again, what the Democrats are advocating for is this continued lawlessness on our streets.
But Democratic lawmakers in California claim it doesn't matter who's paying the protesters if that's even happening, because they claim this was always the way it was going to turn out, no matter what.
Wow.
Was planning on this for months. This is something that I believe they were thinking about the minute. Immediately after the election, he was already considering this. I have a friend who was a DOD employee.
I'm curious, how much is
one of their fears that they
the
would
leadership out in
National Guard
California
and
actually
also look
complicit
at
in all
ways
this?
to include active duty.
They're
Marines,
complicit as all
which is
hell. It's
extremely,
the way it is.
extremely
I don't think
dangerous.
every average day
We have no
citizen is, though.
evidence of
Hey,
that. President
Snowman,
Trump has not said
I think,
that. He
I don't know,
has
I'm going to
said that
bounce.
he
I'm going to try to
does
get
not
some
plan
sleep,
to pull
okay,
the
buddy?
National Guard from
If you're
Yeah,
still
no problem.
streaming,
His
if you're
team
still
leads
streaming when I wake up,
Harris.
I'll jump back on with you, okay?
Hey, no problem, brother. Get you some sleep.
I will attempt to, buddy. Take it easy.
Yep, later, man.
When you go
Later.
back inside of the East Room, the president will be there and we'll join you then. Thank you. The Washington Examiner with a new editorial titled, Gavin Newsom's Big Los Angeles Riot Lie. The argument here, Newsom wants to make it appear as if everything was peaceful until Trump ordered the National Guard in. And it asks, how could Trump be responsible for all those cars being burned, tear gas deployed, and rubber bullets?
Right, this makes no sense. Like, They're making it seem like all this happened because Trump bought the National Guard. No, Trump brought in the National Guard for reinforcements to put a stop to the nonsense. But according to Gavin Newsom, it's Donald Trump's fault. So it's Donald Trump's fault that Mexicans are acting a fool all over Los Angeles when Mexicans and Latinos, for the majority, voted for Donald Trump. But when Donald Trump begins to enforce the freaking law, all of a sudden it's Trump's fault that Mexicans are tearing up the motherfucking city. Make it make sense. Middle finger to the liberals, middle finger to the Democrats. California is a piece of crap because of them. After this clip right here, I got a video telling you by the year 2028, Los Angeles will be 5% black. It's going to go from 8% to 5% black. I got a video right after this clip. Tap on.
Yeah, he was talking, like I said, he was talking about earlier how he was saying, what was it, like 20, 30 years ago, if you went down into like Compton's or Long Beach or Watts or anything like that, it was like anywhere between 70, 80% black. He said now 20, 30 years later, just in the span of like 3 decades, it's like 10, 20% black and 60 to 70% Hispanic and Mexican.
Right. That's not the only place where, what do they call them? Traditionally black places are being offset by Hispanics.
Right.
In Georgia, you don't generally expect to see a whole bunch of Hispanics over here.
He mentioned Georgia.
Yeah, yes, because we have some quote unquote historically black areas that have, for all intents and purposes, I'm not a fan of the word invaded, but how else do you describe it when they come in and rent where black people buy?
Dude, it's like that in places of Ohio and Indiana where I'm from, where I've pretty much resided most of my life. Used to be areas that were predominantly all black, areas like you're talking about. Historically, bought and sold by black families and stuff, a bunch of these, not just Mexicans, but Guatemalans, Hondurans and shit like that have come and basically, like you said, don't want to say invaded, but really kind of invaded these areas and taken them over.
Well, like I said, they come in and rent, but when they rent 27 to a house.
Correct. And that's crazy, dude. I lived in me and my dad and my girlfriend at the time, we was living in a townhouse, and it was like a little, like the condominium style townhouses. You know what I'm saying? A community. And dude, when we moved there, it was predominantly all white and all college kids. And by the time we moved, like you said, it was like full of Mexicans, dude. As far everywhere you could see, and there would be like 15, 20 of them living in one townhouse.
Now, I ain't got no particular problem with the concept of hot cotton when you're in that state where you're trying to get your feet under you and you're surfing on somebody's couch or something. But that's a totally different thing. That's not what they're doing. One word brings up what's going on. Remittance.
You have to explain to me what remittance means.
When people move to the U.S. and they work for 6 or 8 months and mail 90% of their pay back and then flop house in a house with 20 other people, they only pay, $8 worth of rent, and they split all the food and all of everything. And then they go home and buy 40 acres of land in southern Mexico, and they'll be back next year, 6 months from now,
Right. That way they can live high on the hog for 6 months out of the year back home.
Well, see, that was one of the funny things. I was speaking specifically, the dude was Honduran. I'm sorry, babe. But he was like, no, yeah, that's how most people do it. He had a slightly different method of going about it. He came in doing the same thing everyone else did. And then he was like, well, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If you just, if you put in the paperwork and you do everything you're supposed to do before you come, you can come here and live with a roommate, 1, maybe 2, and then you can do the same thing you were doing, but you can take the money home with you when you go, rather than sending it monthly or whatever just to get it out of the country. And no one has a problem with it. He's like, I went home with $47,000. Like I went home, bought a bunch of land. It occurred to me that another 5 years and I could retire. So here I am driving a skid steer. And I was like, that's genius.
That is kind of genius, but he's doing it legally.
Yes.
And that's what matters.
That was the operative term. Yes, sir.
You know, like I was telling Bumpkin earlier when he was up here, I don't understand how anybody can actually support another group of people, you know, basically invading the country, flying another nation's flag, saying that, you know, there's nothing you're going to do about us fucking being here. You're going to suck it up and deal with it. I mean, dude, I was just watching a clip today of some lady that overstayed her tourist visa in Mexico, and the bullshit that she went through when they caught her because she was a day or two overstayed in Mexico. I mean, there's nowhere else on the planet that you can go and basically be there illegally and not face some kind of backlash or punishment for it. And I don't understand why people think that America should be different.
I had an American citizen come at me the other day, and this dude, you know, and I'm not going to name names. He'll know who he is if he hears me saying this. He come in at me and a co-host of mine really hot because we were covering the first couple of days of the riots and whatnot. And what he was hot about, and I think I'm quoting it correctly, although I may have misunderstood. He said, people who have lived here for years and years and years are being deported for no good reason. They're just showing up and deporting them. And I'm like, they're here illegally. And he's like, but that's not a good reason. And this is a person I respect a lot. I've worked with a lot. And I have never heard him come down on this side of an issue that was so foreign and so alien to me that I couldn't, you know, parse out why he was there and what he was talking about. Right. I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. It pissed off my co-host so hard that he just booted him. Like, he didn't even answer any of the questions or acknowledge that he had even spoken. He just kicked him out and moved on with the show.
The fact that he couldn't even acknowledge that the very fact that they were here was basically violating the law right off the rip. You know, must have drove your co-host nuts, huh? I mean, I know that when I have conversations with people and they can't seem to separate illegally from legally.
Yeah.
And they want to seem to use this undocumented, you can call it whatever you want. It's still here illegally. If you're here without papers or without approval to be here, then you're not supposed to be here. And that shit don't apply anywhere. You can't pull that shit off anywhere in the world.
Right. But here it's supposed to be okay because we're the wealthiest nation on earth. Well, guess what, folks? While we did build this country on the backs of immigrants, it was immigrants who came here to be Americans, not people who came here to be Polish or German or came here to be Mexican or Honduran or freaking whatever, insert nationality or ethnicity here. They didn't come here to be whatever. If you're not coming here to be an American, then when your visa is up, leave. You can reapply. No problem there. If you can't pass the background check, tough titty.
And look, the vast majority of most of the illegals that are here just because of that reason. It's because their visa expired and they don't want to apply for a new one. You know, I don't understand it. You applied for one to get here to begin with. What's so hard about, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to take a break for a couple months. That way I get this paperwork taken care of and then come back to it. It's nobody's fault but your own.
Right. I mean, and there's another point here that really freaking bothers me that nobody has touched, and this really gets in my craw. For the past 4 years, any one of these people could have literally walked into an ICE agency and straightened out their paperwork.
Yeah. I mean, they made it pretty easy when Biden was in office to get that shit taken care of. Yes. I mean, they weren't even allowed to arrest them, were they? When Biden was in office.
That's exactly the issue. Is they had 4 years of absolute open door policy. They could have walked into any ICE facility anywhere. They would have taken them wherever they needed to go to get whatever they needed done. And you know this, and I know this, and nobody's talking about the fact that these people didn't even bother. They showed up, took advantage of the system, and then got mad when somebody dropped the hammer on them.
Yep. I'm going to click back on this video, see what he's talking about.
Bless the like button. Let's get back to it.
Shot if it all happened hours before he got involved. It is Newsom and the Democratic Party that are intentionally spreading lies to create fear. Art Del Cueto, Vice President of the Border Patrol Union. Look, Art, you've seen a lot of things in your day. You've patrolled the border. You've seen things get out of hand in different parts of the country. Tell me, what does this look like to you just at first glance? Was this a movement that was going on before or after Trump? Because they seem to want to argue about that.
Look, when you're seeing what they're doing out there, and when, you know, from being in contact with the agents directly, these individuals, they had planned that something like this would happen and they were prepared for it. You know, they have strategic locations where they were going to attack. They knew exactly how they were going to do it, up to breaking pieces of concrete and everything like that. So they knew how they were going to move forward. This was something that, you know, they've been wanting to do. They use this as an excuse, and it's shocking to me.
They're throttling the
Harris,
shit out of
I
my
was shocked
stream.
when I would see judges that were allowing illegal aliens out the back doors. I was shocked when you had
Join the
politicians,
club, bro.
you know, going out there against ICE agents for doing their jobs. But now to have a governor say, I'm perfectly comfortable with the chaos in my state, don't bring the National Guard.
Dude, I'm running fiber optics. There's no reason why my Wi-Fi connection should be
Let me ask you this.
down on
We've
like
been
one
talking
bar,
about the
2 bars. You know what I'm
Biden
saying?
Administration to all of this, and I'm just wondering, do we even
Oh,
have
mine's
enough
been that way for the
information
past 3
about
weeks,
some of
dude. I just blame the rain.
violent illegal aliens are
Hasn't really
to
been
know
raining that
they
much
are
here in
planning these
Indiana.
things? I mean, they're not like terrorists that we
Blame
were
my
watching
rain.
that are on a terror watch list, are they?
No,
See, look at that shit. That's the thing that I got a problem with. All these people claiming to want us to be Americans, but sitting there walking
And
around
listen,
waving
they
that
said, listen, man,
Mexican
I
flag.
covered this yesterday. They said only 1% of the protesters are tearing up Los Angeles. It's only 1% of them. It takes way more than 1% to shut down an intersection. It takes more than 1%
That's
to
a
shut
fact.
down Los Angeles City freeway.
That's a fact.
Come on,
Los
homie, you got
Angeles
people
City
throwing
freeway.
stuff
What
at
is that? Like
police
fucking
officers,
10 lanes of
throwing
traffic?
bricks and rocks at cars, vandalizing
12
police
lanes,
stations.
something like
But
that.
let them tell it, it's only 1% of the protesters who are doing this. Donald Trump is the one that's instigating this nonsense. It's like, man, if you listen to the Democrats and and if you listen to the Democrats like Gavin Newsom, fucking what's the mayor name? Karen Bass. If you listen to them, you lack brain cells. Nothing adds up. What they're telling you is this. They're telling you that 2 + 2 = 50. And you got people who are dumb enough to believe it.
That's
2
a
+
fact,
2
too.
= 50 to them. And some people are dumb enough to buy it. So it's Donald Trump's fault that the Mexicans are acting a fool when in reality, the majority of the Mexican community voted for Donald Trump. But now that Donald Trump is enforcing,
That's crazy too, man. That the majority, you see how they're trying to spin that on Trump too. That he basically screwed the Latino and Mexican community over with them voting for him, and now he's deporting them. I think the thing is the vast majority of voters that voted for Trump were legal citizens. That were the ones that voted for Trump, not these unpapered illegals that are supposed to be here that you want to label undocumented. Those weren't the ones that were voting for Trump. Those were the ones that even the legal citizens were like, yeah, they need to go. Because that's the other thing that I keep seeing and hearing, you know, as this goes on, is there's more and more actual legal immigrants from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Honduras, from South America that are actually getting on here and speaking out and saying, no, we don't stand with this shit either. We came here the right way. We came here and we basically assimilated and became American citizens because we love America. We aren't sitting here waving another country's flag like you. I mean, they're literally criticizing these people that are waving Mexico's flag all over the place, you know, and condemning them for it.
There's the difference though. And you made a point of stating several Latin American countries, but that's not necessary. You can speak on any immigrant that comes here legally, comes here to be an American.
Correct. You know, and so Trump didn't turn his back on the people that voted for him. He's doing exactly what the voters asked him to do and doing exactly what they elected him to do. I mean, I'm sorry. All you lefties and all you extremists out there can be mad about this on whichever extreme side you're on, but this is exactly what America voted for, and he's doing what they put him in place to do.
Immigration policies, it's Donald Trump's fault that the Mexicans are tearing everything up. Make it make sense.
don't know who came into the country. We know the numbers of apprehensions and those that actually directly asked for some type of asylum, but we don't know the number of the gotaways, and you don't know who they were or what their intentions are. But let me say this, look, when you have these many individuals that are in our country destroying, cities, destroying vehicles, destroying businesses, doing all the issues that they're doing on the main streets, burning and attacking, businesses, attacking law enforcement, all the while, Harris, they're flying foreign flags. That is, to me, a terrorist act. That's an invasion, and these individuals should be arrested.
That is a terrorist act. Waving a Mexican flag is a terrorist act. They ought to be arrested immediately.
Hey, Squatch, didn't they say that Jan Sixers, because they were waving Gadsden flags and the black no quarter flag, that was an act of terrorism just simply because they were
ironically, yes.
I mean, didn't they even say Trump flags were even an act of terrorism? People that were waving the Trump flag.
Don't start with me on that trash. I'm just now starting to get over all of the freaking BS that went around about that. All right, so a Trump flag, anything that wasn't blue would be ripped down. I had some neighbors here. I'm in very rural Georgia. Both of my neighbors are Democrats. I live in the middle of town, right in the middle of town. So both my neighbors and the chick across the street are all Democrats. So it doesn't serve me well to put a Trump flag in my yard. But I have a buddy of mine who's an absolute savage, and he decided to do it. It was up 12 minutes.
Wow.
He was leaving my house and went, "Oh, you don't have a Trump thing." And he grabbed one of them out of the back of his truck, stuck it next to the thing, drove off that way. And I'm not even joking. Homie was barely out of sight when the very next person walking down the street pulled that Trump thing up and walked away with it. Didn't even throw it in the street, didn't throw it down, didn't just knock it over. They stole it and left with it.
I had one of those Hillary for Clinton or Hillary for prison signs in my front yard during his first run. And it made it in my yard 3 days before someone took it. That's how long it made it, man. And I had an idea. It was an older black lady I know that had to have taken it because every time she'd run past my house twice a day, man. And every time when I put it up, every time she'd run past it, she'd spit on it.
Hey, but I can accept that. That's acceptable to me. What's not acceptable is just stealing the damn thing.
Right.
It doesn't leave anybody else the opportunity to spit on it if they want to. I'm not a huge Trump fan to begin with. I am
Me neither, really.
I am anti-establishment. I do not like the deep state. I do not like the fact that people are running our country that weren't voted in. None of that makes sense to me. And if Trump is a way to throw some sand in the freaking gears, I'm down, even if he is a dork.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's always had a reputation really, he was a wealthy person, but he wasn't a very well-liked wealthy person. Never really has been, really, if you want my opinion. It's kind of been up and down people's opinions on him, throughout his life. As far as the first, I'll be honest with you, man, these last two elections, I didn't vote because I couldn't I voted locally, but I wouldn't vote fucking on a national election. Just because I can't bring in my opinion, the choices they've been giving us have been laughable to say the least. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how am I supposed to pick between a reality TV star and a former Montel Williams prostitute?
I don't know, bro. Like, how do you choose between a pile of shit on the left and a pile of shit on the right?
Right.
Okay, so here's how I choose. Right. I don't agree with left policies in general. And so the guy on the right who is spewing a bunch of left policies is still better than the guy on the left who is spewing left and communist policies. So my asshole's better than your asshole, but he's still an asshole.
Right.
We should never tolerate that bullshit in our country. You want civil rights in America and special privileges, but you're going to wave a foreign flag in our face. You're going to wave a Mexican flag in our face every 5 seconds while begging to have rights in America at the same damn time. None of this stupid shit makes sense. This is the dumbest protest in American history. Please believe me.
For domestic
So Steve-O's comment, that's something me and Sasquatch were already talking about. I mean, technically they had 4 years to where they could have gotten, like Squatch said earlier, 4 years while Biden was in office where they could have went to any ICE agency and gotten basically on the path of getting their paperwork taken care of. And none of these people that were here illegally, capitalized on that opportunity, well, so what? How long are you supposed to let people continue to skirt the law before you actually bring the weight of the law down on them?
Exactly. What was it? Oh, I had a thought while that dude was talking. Fuck. Never mind. It'll hit me as soon as he starts talking again.
Terrorism, if they're doing all the issues that they're doing on the main streets, burning and attacking, businesses, attacking law enforcement. All the while, Harris, they're flying foreign flags. That is, to me, a terrorist act. That's an invasion, and these individuals should be arrested for domestic terrorism if they're not from this country.
Oh, yeah, I remember what it was.
If they're not from this country, they need to be deported.
All right, you've seen Napoleon Dynamite, right?
Yeah.
You remember Pedro Sanchez?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so when I look at the illegal immigrant concept and I'm trying to figure out solutions and whatnot, Steve-O's got a pretty good groundwork for a basic plan on how to deal with that trash. And I say we go with that. Makes sense, no problem. But then you've got people who have been here for a while. They haven't broken any laws. They're not a problem. They're being Americans for all intents and purposes. They're just not documented. Now, that is a problem and that is illegal, but I don't think that necessarily exposing yourself to the system should immediately rank deportation. And Pedro Sanchez is my reason why. Because I don't have a problem with Pedro Sanchez and his little ice cream truck out there. As long as he's paying taxes and doing everything legally within the country, I don't have an issue with this man. He's got a business. He's doing his thing. That's as American as apple pie, bro. I got no problem with it. The issue I have is when Pedro Sanchez franchises and instead of doing it legally has 37 basically pimp trucks out there. And they don't just sell ice cream either. These are the ones I have an issue with, the ones that sell ice cream and crack and fentanyl and pills and stuff, like the old Nice Dream show. It's not even a fine line. It's not even a hard distinction. If you're a law-abiding person and you're willing to become a citizen, then you can stay. If you are not a law-abiding person, you have to go. And if you're not planning on being a citizen, once your visa's done, get the fuck out.
Right. I don't have no arguments for that. I mean, I don't see how you could argue that.
Right. So there's two types of people trying to come into America. You have good people and bad people. And the argument that the left seem to be making is that some of those bad people who are making terrible decisions are also good people who were just stuck in a bad, unfortunate situation. And while that is a possibility, our refugee system looks at that very situation. That's its purpose.
I can't argue that either.
So it's every single point from the left side of this particular conversation is completely blunted by their own dead logic.
But the bottom line is we need to see some arrests. It started as an immigration issue, but now when they're attacking law enforcement, it's no longer an immigration issue. It is lawlessness, and they all need to be arrested. They need to face consequences and jail time.
Look, the Department of Homeland Security is highlighting the worst of the worst that ICE agents have arrested in Los Angeles raids so far. So while this is going on, this is pulling some of these people into the public. So ICE can go get them now because they've come out of the shadows. They're doing damage when they come.
Oh, look at all these Mexicans right here, man. They didn't came up out of the shadows. So now ICE can come arrest they monkey ass and send you back to Mexico, the country that you claim to love, huh? You claim that you love Mexico, huh? You ain't even know, huh? You want to wear the Mexican flag, huh? You want to beg for citizenship, huh? You want to beg for civil rights, huh? You say that you love Mexico, but you couldn't pay these motherfuckers to go. You say that you love Mexico, but you couldn't pay none of them to go.
He keeping it all the way real, dude. He's staying 10 toes.
10 toes, 100% fire.
But you think you're gonna wave that Mexican flag in our face every 5 to 10 seconds?
All need to be arrested. They need to face consequences and jail time.
Look, the Department of Homeland Security is highlighting the worst of the worst that ICE agents have arrested in Los Angeles raids so far. So while this is going on, this is pulling some of these people into the public.
Well, he's not Mexican. He's Honduran, man. It's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. Listen, man, look at all these Mexicans, man. Then they got the nerve to say it's only 1% of the population that's doing this bullshit. Man, please.
The list, but when they went out to detain him, they happened to be living or residing and being around other individuals that were also in the country illegally. You can't ignore that. You have to arrest them. Those are also criminals. Also, when you start seeing the individuals that are being arrested at some of these factories, some people have downplayed it and said, "Oh, well, are you really going after dangerous criminals?" I remind people, when you're in the
shit, dude, I remember I was talking about on I think it was Ortho stream a few nights ago back in early 2000s when I worked at the St. Mary's Foundry, man. About once every 2 or 3 months, the immigration was coming and picking up illegal Mexicans that were working at the fucking foundry for cheap. I shit you not, dude.
Honey barbecue wings, where have you been all my life? I need some of you in me.
He said escort them out.
You've heard Chuck's opinion, right?
No, I haven't.
When the very first time he saw
I need to get Chuck over here so he can tell everybody his opinion.
Right? Always goes, that needs bullets. Another word for like 10 minutes, and then it zoomed out. There were 3 cars on fire, and some dude standing on a car spreading lighter fluid on it, waving the Mexican flag. He said, that needs napalm.
Damn.
country illegally, that's a crime. When you're in the country and using somebody else's identification, that's also a crime.
What did I tell you? How Mexicans come here using fake Social Security cards, fake identification. Being in this country illegally alone is a fucking crime.
And dude, if you ain't never had to deal with that shit, the nightmare that is. My fucking wife's aunt lived out in California, man. Lives out in California, and somehow one of the illegal immigrants ended up getting a hold of her fucking Social Security number and shit, man. And when she went to file taxes that year, holy fuck, dude, she had the whole hammer of the IRS come down on her.
Yeah, no doubt. I had a buddy of mine when he turned 18. He was a third or junior, and I can't remember which, but someone had gotten a hold to his Social Security number. And between him turning 16 when he did all of his license stuff and him turning 18 when he went and did all the registration stuff, someone had gotten a hold to his Social Security number, and they were running all over South California doing all kinds of stuff. He had like 36 charges on him or whatever on his name, his Social Security number. When he went to go register, they asked him to wait for a minute. I drove him up there because everybody hated him and nobody take him up there. But I drove him up there and let him do all this, gave him time to do all this stuff. He lived way out in the sticks. Anyway, they asked him to wait. And within 15 minutes, they had IRS agents and FBI and GBI in the room. And without ever batting an eye, they walked in the room, looked at him.
Well, hold on. What's GBI?
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
Okay.
But before the FBI shows up, the GBI is supposed to already be involved.
Gotcha.
Right. So they come in, the state came in and talked to him, and then the feds came in and talked to him. None of this took more than 20 minutes total. The second they laid eyes on him, this man is red-headed, pale belly, fish white, right? He is the whitest guy you've ever seen in your life. And
like he just got off a boat from Scotland?
Yes. I'm talking Brillo pad hair on his head, the whole nine, right? And I asked him when because I was sitting right outside the door the whole time, and I didn't overhear it exactly, but I kind of had an idea of what was going on. Someone had got a hold to his Social Security, yada yada yada. They thought he was this particular dude in South California over there who'd robbed a handful of convenience stores and run some people down, stolen a few cars, right? But they had a description of that individual, and it didn't match an Irish redhead. So without even a discussion, they walked in, smiled, said, "We'll straighten this right out. You have your good day. It'll be okay. We'll go fix this." And they did something that locked the other dude out of this guy's social security, and he had to set up a brand new, like from start to finish, identity while we were there. It took about 2 hours. But it wasn't all that hard. It didn't seem like it was hard as it should have been.
I know that the wife said that her aunt went through all kinds of fucking bullshit. She had to jump through all kinds of hoops to get her fucking identity back.
Oh, I'm sure if he'd have left without completing all that stuff, he probably would have. He probably still wouldn't have an ID.
I just know that excuse me. A lot of people on the left, man, they seem to act like that, someone getting a hold of your information isn't really that big of a deal. And it goes to show that none of them have ever actually had to experience something like that. Otherwise, they would know just how big of a deal it really is.
Well, here's the issue with them trying to care about identity. They don't care about their original identity in the first place. They want to invent their own identity. So changing your name and changing some numbers, that's no big deal to them. That's just paperwork. Stop bitching.
Interesting.
Crime. They thought you were only going after the criminals. If you're here illegally, that is a crime. But see, that's what I said before, and I say it again. They're so used to getting away.
What the fuck's that supposed to mean, American man?
We can hear that thing just chalking your block.
What? I ain't allowed to smoke a little bit of the devil's lettuce from time to time? I don't judge you.
Oh, yeah, he's saying that it's not what it is. It is another thing.
Like crossing the border illegally is not a big deal. We've been doing it. How come it's a problem now? They don't even feel like it's illegal to cross the border. That's why they always tell you, well, if I cross the border illegally, that shouldn't matter because I'm not committing crimes now. You broke the damn law the minute you cross the border illegally, you fool. Get it through your thick skull. That is a crime within itself. Your monkey ass came illegally. Now deal with the consequences.
People, when you're in the country illegally, that's a crime. When you're in the country and using somebody else's identification, that's also a crime. That's called identity theft. So yes, I think ICE is doing the right thing, Border Patrol is doing the right thing, and we need to see some arrests from these individuals that are attacking law enforcement, and we need to see real consequences because, as you said, it's not just in Los Angeles, it's spreading to other parts of the country. The ICE facility in Tucson got attacked last night, and several of their windows were destroyed, and some of the agents were also attacked down here too.
You see Steve-O's comment? Said, I managed a mobile home park in Southern Cali after the Northridge quake. FEMA purchased a home in our park in the name of a 12-year-old disabled Mexican whose parents were illegal. Child born disabled here, though.
Right. Okay, so let's take that one on. Okay, if we're going to overlook the concept of anchor babies just on its surface, because I don't know if either one of us have enough legal nuance in that particular field for it to matter what we think.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to skip the anchor baby concept, but and you're not going to like this, but if someone is born here disabled, they should receive the same care that someone who is a citizen here is born here. Now, the deportation part may still take place. I don't have an issue with that. But while they're on American shores,
they should still receive the same care as an American citizen.
Right. Now, and I'm a big fan of due process, but there's got to be a limit. Some things don't get due process, right? I know that sounds weird.
Well, you would think you would have to be an actual citizen of the country you're in order to be afforded the due process of that country.
However, we historically have granted due process to virtually anybody who wandered in, except for in certain circumstances. World War I, World War II, for a short period during the Vietnam conflict, there was a passing attempt to find some Vietnamese Americans, but they never really did anything with it. In fact, most of those boys actually enlisted and went and fought. So, you can't really fault them.
Right.
The Japanese, most of those boys joined up just as their parents were from Japan and America was at war with Japan. There were very few people under the age of 18 that was in those camps.
Yeah, they were all out fighting.
The boys and the girls had signed up in vasty numbers for the segment of the population they are. Do you see the same thing happening if America went to war against Mexico?
Absolutely not.
What would happen?
I think that all I would say I would give it a liberal guesstimation of at least 60% of the Mexicans in America would actually side with Mexico.
Hold on a second. Decatur, Georgia, Amber Alert, license plate, whatever the hell that says.
License plate SFE 9.
Silver Dodge Avenger, child abduction. Or if anybody's out there in Georgia.
Yeah, if you happen to see that vehicle, make sure you get a hold of the local authorities.
Yeah, bud.
I will say, man, that Amber Alert thing is a pretty amazing thing.
Oh, anytime if I'm live when an Amber Alert goes off, I immediately notify everything but the license plate number. And the only reason I don't do that is there is some question of privacy on YouTube that doesn't exist for their broadcast system. So,
right.
Wait a second. Hold on. Who the fuck is still driving a Dodge Avenger?
I don't know.
The thing's got to be 22 years old.
That's a good question.
I
mean, don't get me wrong. I like cars from the 80s and 90s personally. If I buy a car myself, I usually buy one from that era. I don't buy new vehicles.
I usually go late 90s, early 2000s. And then you're going to think I'm nuts when I say this. And I think it was called a Descendant, a Mitsubishi Ascendant. But in 1998, Mitsubishi made the greatest SUV ever made. It was based off of basically a small truck frame. Right? Imagine, all right. I think it was Outlander.
American Man said that's a ratchet baby mama car.
You're not wrong. So this thing came with Bluetooth. It's one of the earliest cars with Bluetooth capability, but it also came with every other feature you could imagine. Basic. It was an all 4-wheel drive, automatic. Had the weird. You remember how the weird air ride adjustable suspension stuff was all the big wigs back in the early 2000s.
Yes,
this was in '98, and it came standard on the damn thing.
I drove a Cadillac for a while that had that air ride suspension on it.
I didn't like it. I really, really, really didn't like it.
But took a little bit to get used to.
Yeah, a hydraulic version of it, so it wasn't quite as airy. That weird dolphining effect that it does.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan, bro. I'm not a fan. I do not like that.
By dolphining effect, if you mean how if you went too fast over hills and shit, the ass end would kind of bounce.
Well, not just bounce. It
almost like shifted and shit.
In the car that I was driving, the issue was that something about the bounce would alter the fuel delivery, which would cause it to surge a little bit, and then it kind of synergized into this. It was weird, dude. I just did not like it, and it might have been something wrong with the car, but it was supposedly fine. It went through all the testing and everything, so I don't know. They test drove it, said it was normal. I rode with them while it was dolphining, and they're like, "Yeah, it just kind of does that stuff." I was like, okay.
Yeah, okay, not into it.
I sold
it.
I sold it.
Hard to hear that from those agents. My goodness, and that's an important corridor because
I don't like Jeeps either.
It seem like they don't understand. I love when they play dumb. Well, I'm not breaking any laws. You broke the law when you came illegally, you fool. What do you mean you ain't? I thought Donald Trump was going to go after the criminals. This is why we voted for him. Well, maybe this explains why you're so damn dumb and you lack common sense. All I need is common sense to see through your incompetence. What an idiot. Well, I voted for Donald Trump because I thought he was only going to go after the criminals. Motherfucker, you came illegally. You're thrown in the same category as well.
You're a criminal.
What an idiot.
What's so hard to understand about that?
Up Nogales through Tucson, you and I have talked about this because that's our home state. That's where a lot of the fentanyl was coming through across.
Why do they assume that when they say criminal that they're speaking only on drug dealers or gangbangers and shit of that nature? A criminal is a criminal.
You say that, and you say that like it's perfectly reasonable, but in reality, when they talk about criminals in the news, it's always somebody stealing shoes because they didn't have any or bread to feed their family. It's never the drug dealers and the bangers they talk about.
You know, that's a good point. That's kind of wild if you think about it.
Yeah, no, you invented a narrative for them because it's the one that would make sense, but it's not the actual narrative that they push. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
I've done it before myself. I've caught myself doing it because it's the logical antithesis to what's going on, but it's not. That's not the position. The position is the more harsh the criminal, the more misdone by the system they are. They're not really criminals. They want you to believe that if you were in their circumstances, you would have done exactly the same thing they did. And I disagree, sir.
That's definitely something to ponder.
The border. All right, let's move to this. This is something live going on. I can't wait to get you to speak on it. Right now, 3 Democratic governors, J.B. Pritzker, Tim Walz, and Kathy Hochul of here in New York, you know her. They're all trying to defend their state's sanctuary policies before the House Oversight Committee. We have already seen some fireworks from Chairman James.
Listen, California been a sanctuary state, not just Los Angeles being a sanctuary city. You know how long they've been protecting illegals in California? They get arrested, they don't get deported, they get released right back to the streets. Local law enforcement will not cooperate with ICE. They will not cooperate with federal authorities. That's how these Mexicans and people from south of the border have been able to overpopulate California. They have weak immigration policies. California been a sanctuary state for decades now. It's rare that they deport these illegals. They've done absolutely nothing about it, but they've done nothing besides contribute to the motherfucking problem. How do you think? See, listen, they're trying to kick blacks out of Los Angeles, and I have the evidence to prove it. Blacks are only 8% of the overall city's population in Los Angeles, but we're 30-something% of the jail population. How is that possible? Huh? And then when you go to white people, whites are 30% of the overall population, like 36% of the overall population, but they're only like 7% of the jail population. So what they're trying to tell us is whites don't commit crimes. You blacks are only 8% of the population, but you're committing the majority of crimes. So what they're saying is per capita, blacks commit the most crime. Now there's more Mexicans in LA County jail than blacks.
Who's saying that? Are you correct me if I'm wrong? He's reading off the statistics, right?
Right.
Is he saying the statistics are lying?
I don't know.
Is he saying that the statistics are wrong?
I think he's saying that the statistics are being manipulated.
Okay, so are they manipulating them by simply not arresting white criminals, or are they manipulating them after the fact by adjusting the numbers?
I guess what he's saying is his initial premise was that they were trying to erase black people out of Los Angeles.
Well, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. I do believe the Democratic Party is attempting to remove as many black people from California as possible because, historically speaking, the immigrant population is less documentable and therefore can be kind of ignored off the books, right?
Mm.
So if you've got actual American citizens, you're not going to be able to do that. But as fuzzy as immigration is currently, you could get away with an awful lot of second-class citizening someone by simply saying you're not documented, do it anyway. And you know this happens.
Yeah.
So everyone who is trying to champion these illegal immigrants who are trying to stay illegally and want to basically commandeer part of the U.S. for their own use, you're basically volunteering these people to be little better than slave labor. They will not be able to have a functioning life in this country, which will force them to identify with their foreign nationality rather than American. So they're creating the problem they're saying they are fixing. You know, if you gave them all amnesty, we'd have another 20 million by the end of next year.
Oh, easy. The fucking Mexicans repopulate like fucking rabbits, man. And I mean that in the most respectful way.
Oh, sure.
American man says, no, sir, you allowed liberal whites and your brown allies to your death, or you followed liberal whites and your brown allies to your death. All this other shit is fluff. The Mexicans have been pushing blacks out since the 80s.
Right. And I've actually talked to, like, for instance, my brother's first wife, her brother was a Marine, and he married a Marine who was a Latina from South Central, right? She was a bad mamma jamma, all 5'5" or whatever the minimum height is to be a Marine. Every inch of her was absolutely savage, right? I got no problem with these people, bro. That woman beat me like a redheaded stepchild, and I'm not afraid to admit it because at least I got my ass whipped by a Marine.
Right.
I like being beaten.
That's because blacks are only 8% of the population. If Los Angeles population was 20% black, we would be 70% of the jail population. Because think about it. You mean to tell me 8% is 30%, 36% of the overall LA County jail population? Those numbers are crazy. Mexicans are 50% of the population, 50+% of the population, overall population in Los Angeles, but they're 50-something% of the overall jail population. Those numbers actually make sense. But for us to be 30-something% of the population and we're only 8% of the overall.
Yeah, if you're going per capita, it does make sense that if 50% of the local population is one demographic, that the jail population would also, mirror that.
But do you actually expect it to in reality? I mean, none of the other demographics make any sense, according to him, but this one makes sense. This is fine.
No, the only one that doesn't make sense to him is the black demographic.
No, he said that, 70% of the population was white, but represent only 8% of the jail population.
Is that for me? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
The implication there in the numbers beneath the numbers, the statistics that made the statistics, is that less than 10% of white people commit enough crime to end up in prison, right? Most of these people are either able to go about some type of defense, whether it's monetarily or whatever, right? They do not end up getting convicted. That's a court issue, not a policing issue.
Right.
City's population, those numbers are crazy. It shows you that they are over policing black communities, trying to get rid of us by locking us up, trying to get rid of us through economics, kicking you out of the city council. You heard what Nuri Martinez and Kevin DeLeon said about.
He's trying to give the woe is me oppressed black man argument right now.
Okay, I can accept that. I mean, it's at least traveled territory. I'll be back.
Right. That's what it sounds like to me. The typical we ain't going to listen to the statistics because they don't make sense type bullshit.
Let me.
It's the white man's. It's the white man's numbers anyhow. Ain't an American man. So the white man's numbers don't mean nothing.
No. They don't work. But let me jump in here and live up to the stereotype and cause some violence.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, go ahead. You got the floor. What's up, Snowman? How are you?
What's up, my guy?
Chilling, man. Chilling.
Dude,
fucking got it. Go ahead. My bad.
No, I was just gonna say there's shit going on out in Cali, man. How long do you think it's going to take before it spreads to the rest of Central America?
The Central America?
Yeah, like the Midwest.
Oh, it's not going to spread to the Midwest. You want to know? Pay attention to where these things happen. You have to watch where these things happen. There's two things. There's two things that these places don't have that all the other states have. Open carry, right? They don't have concealed carry, open carry. When you look at the states that have concealed carry, open carry, you don't get all of this. Right? You don't get a lot of that. Like, you're not walking up to no one's business and doing that because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I guess that's where I feel fortunate that I live in a constitutional carry state.
Right? And North Carolina is right on the verge. We're about to be a constitutional carry.
Well, dude, and that's even with what is it? I think Fort Wayne and Indianapolis both being sanctuary cities.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like those. But I mean, even with them being sanctuary cities, there's still rules and stuff like that. These things don't happen in places where you can carry a gun and you have consequences.
Right.
And so that's why, and also these people, like law enforcement in these places, don't play around because everyone can open carry. So, well, excuse me, because you live in a state where you're allowed to have guns. I won't say open carry because not every state is open carry. So let me be careful the way I speak. But in the states where you're allowed to have guns, the police don't play that, bro, because they don't know who have guns, and so they have to shut all that shit down.
Yeah.
Those are the two things. So if you notice where so even the map where Gavin Newsom told them it was going to happen, you notice they were only liberal cities where you're not allowed to have guns.
Or the gun regulations are so strict it's almost impossible to get a license to have one.
Exactly. But you see, Mayor Eric Adams ain't having it, right? You see, he ain't having it. You notice you don't hear much about New York.
No, you don't, which is interesting because there's a pretty big Latino presence there in New York too.
Well, but here's the thing about the Latino presence in New York. It's Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, I guess that is a bit different, isn't it? Those are islanders.
Yes, right. But also they're Americans. I mean, we just got to be honest about
Puerto
it.
Rico is an American territory.
Yeah, they're Americans. So they're not. When you talk to Puerto Ricans, they're not with any of this. And truthfully, they don't rock with Mexicans and Guatemala. They don't rock with those people.
Right.
Right. And then a lot of your immigrants in New York, even some of them that are Mexican and Guatemalan and Honduran and all that, they're all legal citizens. So they're like, yo, we don't want you people here. But Eric, in New York, when you look at, I mean, let's be real, right?
I know that when he was doing those Senate hearings, though, he did admit that they were spending an awful lot of money on illegals there for a minute.
Well, that was because, did you hear what he said? He said Joe Biden told him, be a good little Democrat, nigga boy.
No shit.
Oh, yo, you didn't hear that?
No, I didn't. Wow.
The Tucker Carlson interview.
Wow.
It
doesn't surprise me. I mean, Joe Biden's about as racist as they come.
Well, it wasn't Joe Biden, but it was Biden's administration. But
so
it was Joe Biden. Yeah, pretty much. And they were like, yeah, we hear you, but be a good little nigga Democrat boy, and you'll be fine. And that's pretty much what they told him. But do you remember the timeline of Eric Adams? Like people want to just accuse him of being a sanctuary city guy and all of that. But
no, he came in right at the tail end of Biden's administration, didn't he?
No, he came in as soon as they opened them borders. And if you remember, he was the one saying this is going to kill our state and blah blah blah. And then as soon as he was flying to the White House, they raided the governor's, not the governors. They raided his offices and stuff when he was on his way to the White House to tell them about immigration.
I vaguely remember something like that.
Yeah, dude, he was the one pushing against it. People just say he wasn't simply because it's a Democrat state. So they're like, nah, he wasn't. But I remember Eric Adams being adamantly against having a bunch of illegal immigrants. When they first started sending those buses from Texas, Eric Adams tried to play a little bit of politics with Governor Abbott But he initially turned to Biden and was like, "Nah, bro, this is your problem.
Right.
Like you need to close the borders." And then they were like, "Yeah, shut up, be a good little nigga Democrat." And then he was like, "Nah, bro, like you gonna either give us funding to house this or you're gonna get them up out of here." And then next thing you know, he's a criminal.
Right. Right.
Why you think what's his name? Brandon Johnson. Why you think Brandon Johnson don't have no pushback? Because Brandon Johnson knows, right? He's probably so corrupt that he knows if he even say boo, they're gonna get him up out of there.
I'm gonna play this video for a little bit. That way I can go get the kids ready for bed, man, real quick.
Yeah. Do what you gotta do, bro.
Black folks, these are Mexicans who are part of the LA City Council. The rent is too damn high. You can't get a job doing construction. Black women can't get a job in the medical field. You got to be bilingual. You got to speak Spanish. And even if your black ass can speak Spanish, they still don't want you working there, fool. So they're trying their best to eliminate California's black population. They're looking to exterminate niggas. They're looking to eliminate you. That's why it makes no sense for dumbass niggas to still talk about Crips and Bloods. You're going to go to war with each other and you're only 8% of the population. They locking your monkey ass up. Even though you're only 8% of the population, but you're 30-something% of the jail population. You can't get a job doing construction. You barely can get one doing warehouse, kicking motherfuckers out of medical who are FBA. They are trying to eliminate you niggas from the city. They're trying to eliminate blacks from the state of California. And you got dumbass niggas who still want to gang and throw up the set, talk about Crip this, Crip Suwoop, blood, on Crip, on Crud, on Crip, on Cud, on Blood, on Paru. You niggas are retarded. They're doing their best to run your black ass up out of the city, and you still want to gang bang in communities where you became the minority. You niggas have became the minority in your own communities, and you still want to talk about gang bang. You niggas are stupid. You niggas are absolutely retarded. They're doing their best to get rid of your black ass, and you doing everything in your power to help them.
Comer, let's watch.
Let me be clear. Sanctuary policies do not protect Americans. They protect criminal, illegal aliens. Minnesota Governor Walz stood at a commencement podium and smeared ICE agents as, quote, Trump modern day Gestapo. Governor Hochul's sanctuary policies cost taxpayers billions. Governor Pritzker faces lawsuits for obstructing ICE as he turns cities like Chicago into havens for drugs and crime. These governors handcuff law enforcement from doing their jobs, harbor predators, and call it compassion. It's costing lives, hurting Americans, and draining taxpayer money.
All right, we want to go there live now. Governor Walz is facing Congressman Tom Emmer right now. Let's watch.
Refused to work with law enforcement to enforce the law. In May 2020, looting, acts of violence, and arson occurred on your watch in Minneapolis after you refused to bring in the National Guard. Governor, your agenda is clear. Free health care, free college and driver's licenses for illegals while handcuffing law enforcement when they're trying to protect our citizens and their communities. If you think that's not a sanctuary state, you shouldn't be governor. By turning Minnesota into a magnet for illegals, you have opened up our communities to dangerous criminals, including known.
Yeah, they done this to California a long time ago. We got the Mexican drug cartel, Serranos, and Outsiders and Serranos, MS-13, the trendy Aragua gang, you name it. They overpopulated California with these immigrants a long time ago. Now they're trying to do this to cities across the country. Now they're trying to do the same thing in different states across the country. California was the blueprint for illegal immigrants to come and take over your shit. Please believe.
I was talking about
immigration crisis.
About that idiot would have been vice president. Made that
about LA and the fact that the Olympics will be.
Shout out to Samba Journeys, man, and he's going to talk about the Olympics and how LA's black population might be gone. Wake up, my people, and quit being stupid and quit being dumb.
I do think that the wildfires and everything that they just had has something to do with the Olympics and the smart city that they're supposed to be building there in LA now. I do think that is connected to each other.
Listening to
you think so?
talk about gang.
Yes, sir, I do.
I also know that's why they locked up that dude in LA as well because of the Olympics.
What dude?
What I don't know. What's that dude's name? The one that they locked up, and he had extorted the weed guy, Big U. Yeah, that's why they locked him up because of the Olympics as well, right? I'm sure they got plans to build hotels that will be up within 4 years and a whole bunch of stuff. And you got to get rid of all these people because you need to have these. You need to have room for tourists to come and be peaceful and buy. And so you got to lock the people up. That's creating problems.
Right.
Well, how's that going to work with? So, do you think that's why they want all the illegals to run the business for all the tourists for the Olympics?
Cheap labor.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, isn't that what everybody's been pushing on why we need illegals anyhow, is for cheap labor?
Yeah, they got to wipe not our. I gotta put that on you, Snowman. You know, I rock with you, but
yeah, they got to wipe my ass for me.
Yeah, that's what they said, man.
You know, it is what it is.
Of course, that's often said about childless people because childless people don't look. People with children don't look to outside people to wipe their ass when they're old. But you know what?
Right.
What do I know?
That's fact too.
Talking about LA and the fact that the Olympics will be.
Shout out to Samba Journeys, man, and he's going to talk about the Olympics and how LA's black population might be gone. Wake up, my people, and quit being stupid and quit being dumb. Listening to these niggas who talk about gangbang shit all day while they live off these single mothers, depend on single mothers for survival. You watch these dumbass videos about prison culture and gangbanging all day. Black people ain't got no time to be listening to.
He's so close yet so far.
He's almost there, man. He's almost there.
Like, but he's so far at the same time. Like, it's terrible.
There's a lot of brothers I know, man, that are almost there. You know, they're like right there, man. But holding on for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Prison
all right, I just wanted to say that.
Videos all day. They're trying to eliminate your black ass from the state. They're trying to eliminate your monkey ass from the city. But you still want to listen to who snitching, who can't come to the hood all day. That shit was cool at one point in time, but we have bigger and better things to focus on besides who.
Nah, that shit was never cool. Let's keep it a buck.
Who gangbanging and who got out of prison and who can't come back to the hood. We ain't got no time to be entertaining retarded shit like that, especially in the city of Los Angeles. You ain't got no time for stupid shit.
Be in LA. At least the plan is Olympics will be in LA in the year 2028. That's about 4 years from now. Now, what I did was I actually took a look at. I went to the website Color of Wealth, and what I want you to do is take a look at this clip because there's some very interesting things that we were able to pull out of this website because they had a chart that showed, you know, where each demographic was economically. And I want you to take a look at that because there's some other things I'm gonna show you too in this video, but we're gonna rewind a little bit. Let's look at the clip and I'll be right back afterwards. Let's see. Let's go to what I wanted to show you guys. This is the Color of Wealth. Let me pull that website up here.
Man, these niggas is going on no jumper talking about who got knocked out and who stuck a carrot.
I really don't care about what this guy's talking about personally.
If not, you niggas will be destroyed.
I want to go back to the beginning of this.
Got the narrative. Yes, what's going on, people?
Well, also the problem is that they're starting at the wrong point. They're starting at 2024, ignoring 30 years. Right. And that's because, and I know why they're starting here and they don't want to go back. I know why. Because when you start here, you could blame white people. When you go back, you have to look at your black and brown coalition. And so they don't want to go back. They only and always want to start where there's some point of there's some white person to look at.
Right. Well, I know why I ain't got nobody watching Hood's live.
Oh, yeah. Hood's live, yeah.
Yeah, I might end this until Hood's done and then maybe go live later on tonight, man, because there's only like 2 people watching right now. So, and it's
all right, bro, yeah.
Go check out what he's doing.
Yeah. I'm going to go take a shower and fucking. All right, bro.
Yep. Appreciate you for coming up, man.
All right, bro.
Peace out, Squatch. I'm a bounce out of here.
Deuces, my brother.
Yep. Later, everybody.